Gary Brotman beautifully defines artificial intelligence as a set of techniques that help computers and machines mimic human behavior. And when I myself think of examples like this, I think of my smartphone, my car, and even my smartwatch. But have you ever truly stopped to think about how quickly technology is actually advancing? Although it's not something I myself notice all the time, I feel like technology has been developing at the same time I myself have been growing. But what about the generations before me? They went from watching TV shows like Get Smart, where the concept of using a watch as a phone was so beyond make-believe, to them now seeing their kids and their grandkids doing exactly that. I feel as though I can speak for my generation where the idea of adopting new technologies isn't all that difficult. Like I said before, we've been learning how to use computers at the same time we've been learning how to read. But what has it been like for the older generation to be using these technologies? Is it something that they have been trying out, or is it something that's just too complex for them so it just ends up staying in the box? The reason why I ask this is because some of these technologies, like the smartwatch, have such great health aspects incorporated into them that would be really beneficial to the older generations. But you can't help but wonder, are these smart technologies just a little bit too much for them to learn? These are questions I cannot answer myself, so I decided to go straight to the source.
Hello, that must be my Jazz.
It is, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Alright, you ready for some questions?
I think so.
My grandma Fiona is one of the most tech-savvy people I have ever met. Ignoring her age of 84, she is a quick adopter of new technologies where she currently owns an iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Google Home, just to name a few. Obviously, you're an exception because you're very smart with technology and stuff, but do you think with other people in your age bracket, like the use of this kind of like, in terms of like an Apple Watch or whatever, do you think that can be like confusing for some people to even learn?
Mostly they say they don't know how to, but on the other hand, I don't think they try hard enough to learn.
Yeah.
It's like going back to school.
Like I said earlier, my grandma owns an Apple Watch, and I actually went with her when she bought it back in 2017. But to be honest, I didn't really know why she wanted one.
I'd had my open heart surgery in October 16.
Yeah.
So that was probably the reason I wanted something that I could call people if I was in a panic.
And especially, I guess, as well at that point, like you were living by yourself. So,
yes.
As my grandma has gotten older, she has started having more falls around the home, which has been a bit of a concern for both myself and my family. When I told my grandma about the fall detection technology that the Apple Watches have, which includes the use of artificial intelligence to know the difference between the user falling versus the user dropping the Apple Watch, and placing an alert on the screen in case of an emergency. She did say that her model doesn't have it. However, another device that she uses, which is a MePack's personal alarm, which is a necklace where she can call for help, had once noticed that she had a fall.
With MePack, I had a fall, and I was crawling all over the house, trying for ways to get up, and I couldn't get up, and I had my thing around my neck, and as I was crawling, it was banging on the floor. And all of a sudden I got this voice from me back, Mrs. Ridout, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not. I've had a fall.
So that detected a fall?
It detected that there was something wrong because my thing kept tapping on the ground.
Another thing I was curious to find out when I was talking to my grandma was about her thoughts on privacy and data security. She told me that none of that was really on her mind at the time of purchase, and not really even during the use of these products, but in saying that recent experiences for her have changed her opinion on this. So for you, like especially with things that have happened with you recently, now like things like security has become a concern for you?
Yes. Oh yes. Especially since I've been got twice by NPN.
Yeah. So then, like, if you were to get a new, like, Apple Watch now, would the privacy part be something that you would be more interested in now because of your past experiences, or not so much on the Apple Watch itself, but more on your phone?
I'd probably be more careful than I was the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a journal article titled Apple Watching You, Why Wearable Technology Should Be Federally Regulated, Gary Arnow discusses how the access we grant smart devices, especially in regard to our health, create a concern for users' privacy and data security. Arnow points out that devices like the Apple Watch create personalized data records logging unprecedented volumes of personally identifiable health information within networked application servers. On top of that, he also shines a light on how information like this can be really valuable to marketers, where they can use this information to tailor advertisement to consumers and create a form of behavioral advertising. As she mentioned before, my grandma has fallen victim to telephone scams, which thankfully is something that has been taken care of. But I myself have had issues with this where people have gotten access to my PayPal account and have spent my money. Again, something that has been fixed. It was something that then led me to think about my passwords and the strengths behind them and using different passwords for different accounts. It then appears that privacy seems to only be something people think about when it's almost too late. I was reading a journal article by Chen who wrote about the fall detection features the newer Apple Watches have. And they included some statistics about how falls are a leading cause in accidental injuries and deaths for the elderly people aged over 65. And they also point out that the older you get, the more likely you are to experience more falls. So I was just wondering if statistics like that worry you.
Well, that's not as easy to answer as you think, because I think a lot of my falls have been caused by the medication I have to take because of my heart and my lungs. So it's not a healthy adult growing old, I would think, wouldn't have many falls.
Right.
But someone on a lot of medication is likely to have a lot of falls.
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, true.
I don't think I would be falling over like this if I hadn't had to take all this medication since the heart surgery.
Yeah,
that's
true.
when I started falling.
In the end, when I think about my grandma and the fact that she does live alone and she does have a high tendency to fall, which statistics show that she is only going to be at a greater risk the older she gets, the benefits of her being able to call in an emergency when she doesn't have her phone on her far outweigh the potential risk, keyword being potential, risk that her data would be breached. As you just heard, she has more of an awareness of her privacy and her data security now than what she did beforehand, and I think that definitely will come into play with her future use of these technologies. Regardless, I think security is definitely something that we all need to take into account when we are using more and more technology that do use artificial intelligence. However, just because we are more mindful of our data and our privacy, it doesn't mean that our user experience needs to change for the worse.